Gitchy, ya, da, da. Your Denver Broncos are so back, and they're about to land the knockout blow in NFL free agency. Crazy rumors swirling about the Denver Broncos getting Cooper Kupp. How possible is that? We get further proof, pelts on the wall, that the Denver Broncos won free agency, that we will be the front runners, not just to make the playoffs next year, but for our division. We got so much to break down. If you're new to the channel, I'm a diehard Denver Broncos fan named Ben, and it helps me and that algorithm out a lot if you would smash that like and subscribe button. So we have all been talking at this point, like we're eating greedy, right? Like none of us expected to come out of this NFL free agency period with an all-pro safety, a Pro Bowl caliber linebacker, and a Pro Bowl caliber, truly all-pro tight end. But we did, yet it's never enough. And Sean Payton is signaling the fact that we are in absolute win now mode, and that Bo Nix and this offense have kicked open the window for our Super Bowl window, and it's going to be open for the next 4 years. So Cooper Kupp is available. There's a lot of talks about his demise. I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that he is still a straight up wide receiver one. He's not going to be winning any more triple crowns, but he would be the third option in this offense right now. Like we have Cortland Sutton, who's he's a wide receiver one, who's not a diva. We have one of the best tight ends we've had in Denver since Julius Thomas. And so he would just be the slot monster, an incredible mentor for Troy Franklin, an incredible mentor for Marvin Mims on how to prepare, and just a sure-handed slot guy for Bo Nix, which is incredible. And even the fact that we are having conversations with him now, which we are, and that he wants to come to Denver. Adam Schefter came on with DMAC and all the folks over at, not The Fan anymore, but Altitude, and basically said, hey, if Cooper Kupp had his way, he would pick going to the Denver Broncos. I feel confident saying that, is what Adam Schefter said. I don't know if that's actually going to materialize because of what he's asking, but to me, just the fact that we are having a talk for a wide receiver in the age range that Cooper Kupp is, he might have 2 good years left, and that is proof to me that Sean Payton thinks this Super Bowl window is open. We've gone young and hungry, and now it's time to bring in the vets who are going to help us get this thing over the finish line, going from being almost tied with Buffalo in the playoffs at halftime to like, how do we host that game at home? How do we win the AFC West? This is just phenomenal news that Cooper Kupp's even thinking about coming here and that he would want to come here. We are seeing how the Broncos are feeling about this offseason, as even the defensive player of the year himself, Patrick Surtain, is tweeting out this picture of the work of Sean Payton right now. It's just so much stir fry, just going wild here. You see him, a ravenous fan of what Sean Payton is doing. We are even seeing, this is one of the bigger creators for Kansas City Chiefs content. Don't even click on his profile. Don't give him any more clicks. But he came out and said, I'm not going to lie. Unfortunately, the Broncos are having an excellent offseason. So even Chiefs fans are seeing what we're doing. I'm getting texts from my buddy who's a Raiders fan saying like, oh man, this sucks. Like, you guys had an incredible offseason. We see Ed McCaffrey, again, his son is in San Francisco. We just stole people from San Francisco, and he came out and said, hey, there's no official scorecard for who won, but the Broncos are winning, crushing NFL free agency. So just incredible news there. And as we hear more and more just about how great this news is, we see that Evan Ingram didn't choose the Broncos because we threw the bag at him. It's actually a pretty team-friendly deal where if he gets re-injured, we're not on the bag. We're not going to suffer the same cap losses that we had with Russell Wilson. And so you're seeing Evan Ingram chose the Broncos over the Chargers, even though the offer was the same. When he left the Broncos building, I thought, oh, we must have gotten him back because we offered him another few million or another couple in guaranteed, and it wasn't that. He went to the Chargers and heard their best pitch and said, you know what Bo Nix and what Sean Payton are cooking up there in Denver is infinitely better than what Herbert is doing with Jim Harbaugh. So I think that's got to be incredibly exciting, seeing what he tweeted as his goodbye message to the Jacksonville Jaguars, like, hey, it's all love, but y'all just let a dog loose. And I just love that we got dogs this offseason, and it's going to be wildly exciting. Just seeing more and more tweets that of highlights of things that I didn't watch because I didn't watch a ton of Jacksonville tape. But just seeing how good he was, seeing here with being kind of covered here by Sauce Gardner. And remember when Sauce Gardner used to think that he was better than Patrick Surtain? And just watching here what Evan Ingram can do to a corner one. So if your best corner can't lock down our tight end, what you think a slow linebacker is going to be able to do that? Seeing him again, press coverage here with the corner, there you should not be able to run and create that kind of separation on a corner. So imagine you line him up with an actual linebacker, and then look at that. I mean, that catch Absolutely wild there. So if all of a sudden the Denver Broncos go out and land a Cooper Kupp to pair with that, I just don't even know how to describe how exciting this is. They haven't set the official over or unders yet for the season. The schedule hasn't been released, but there's no way that we're not predicted to win just straight up 10 games. That is the new floor for this Denver Broncos team, and I couldn't be more excited about it. And it feels better than other years because this isn't like we poached Peyton Manning and got lucky there. We built it through Sean Payton going out and identifying that talent, and it just feels different to have a homegrown quarterback get us there, and just seeing like we did it the right way. We didn't skip steps, and it's incredibly, incredibly exciting. Seeing another thing that helped bring in Evan Ingram to the Denver Broncos is the fact that Davis Webb is only still with the Broncos because our ownership group has been able to just keep throwing money at him and incentivizing him to stay here. But Davis Webb, who will probably be a head coach someday, actually played with Evan Ingram in New York, and so that's got to be a huge factor as to why he picked playing with your Denver Broncos. And then this came out from Next Gen Stats, which I thought was absolutely wild, that not only is Evan Ingram 5 years younger than Travis Kelce, he actually leads the league since 2023 when it comes to reception yards when he's in the slot. And I'm just excited that's the definition of a joker to Sean Payton. You put him in the slot, you put him on the line, you put him in the backfield, he's going to beat everybody. And then he's better than Travis Kelce and a whole lot younger than him. And the future is wildly, wildly bright. All this, guys, is bucking the narrative that Sean Payton is a culture destroyer. I was on so many shows where they debated and said Sean Payton is just basically like a John Gruden or a Josh McDaniels, and that is just the most bogus take ever. He sucks up anyone who ever touched hands with him in New Orleans, wants to come play with him, and now you see Evan Ingram take the same deal to come here instead of play with Herbert and live in California, and you just see that Greenlaw could have stayed in San Francisco as well. Hufanga could have stayed in San Francisco. Cooper Kupp has a ton of places he could go and play with Drake May, and if he had it his way, according to Adam Schefter, he wants to be a Denver Bronco because he wants us cheering for him, and that's crazy, crazy exciting. And then further evidence that we are in win now mode is just this fact that, man, there are guys who are so good that we just stop even remembering how good they are, that there are guys hurting their backs, giving themselves pats on the back for the Patriots, getting Milton Williams, like, oh, this guy's going to be a difference maker. It's like John Franklin Meyer, who none of us even mention when we talk about this defense anymore, actually had a better pressure rate than anyone else in the NFL. Like, everyone's like, oh, Chris Jones, let's give him all of our money in our franchise. And it's like, dude, you're third on this list. And John Franklin Meyer, who we don't even put in our top 5 on that defense, but I think he should be, is better than all of them. And now he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. I hope there's something the Broncos do this offseason to secure John Franklin Meyer. We got Zach Allen we need to secure. So we might have some problems in years coming up. But, man, for this year, the Broncos are a deep, deep playoff out, and that's wildly exciting. And then, I had gotten a little bit nervous when it sounded like Matt Stafford might be going to join Pete Carroll and the Vegas Raiders because we got to play him twice. I wasn't thrilled with that. And then what ended up happening is they did a flyer on Geno Smith, and we know what happens when you're picking up a quarterback that another team's giving away for a third-round draft pick. Geno Smith isn't the answer, guys. And on top of that, the Vegas Raiders organization is a bad organization, and that's not me throwing arrows. That is a former player for the Vegas Raiders himself, Jimmy Garoppolo. A lot of people say, I'm a handsomer version of Jimmy Garoppolo. Let me know in the comments if you agree. But he basically came out and said, hey, I've been in a bad organization, and I know what that does to you, and I don't want that anymore. I didn't want to go through that again, which is why he's choosing what he did in free agency. So great to see, hey, a former player we've heard Josh Jacobs come out and say the exact same thing. The Vegas Raiders are still a bad organization, and that's 2 games we get to play this year that we don't have to worry about quite as much. Last piece of cool news here that I hadn't really thought about was Denver Broncos have to play the Colts this year, and that is an away game, and there are a bunch of rumors and rumblings that is actually going to be an international game in Germany. And the interesting thing about that is the Broncos actually petitioned the league and want a game in Germany, just like last year they actually wanted that back-to-back road trip for team bonding. Sean Payton already showed what he can do when he gets those guys together and develop that college atmosphere. And player after player after player talked about it was that 2-game road trip on the East Coast that made that team thick as thieves, and those, they were boys with each other. So I'm actually thrilled that not only does that take an away game, that home field advantage that the Colts have at Lucas Oil, takes that off the table and now puts that in, it's basically a neutral field and your chance for your Denver Broncos to go in and bond as a team. And I'm thrilled, excited about that. Last thing I wanted to say real quick, I want to personally thank Bo Nix for my steak dinner last night. I had a bet going with my friend who's a diehard Bears fan at the start of last year. The only bet I made, I don't do gambling, but I bet him a steak dinner that the Broncos would have a better record than the Bears. He came to me after the Broncos were 0-2, and he's like, hey, I'll let you off the hook and just take me to Wendy's right now. And I'm like, bro, I trust in Bo Nix. You have no idea what's going to happen, and it wasn't even close. And so $70 steak last night, it was incredible. I wore my Bo Nix shirt and a hat in a steakhouse and felt really underdressed, but man, it was worth it. And Bo Nix, you give us all something to believe in.